Hello and welcome to this webcast, the second of a two-part C-Suite Challenge series on moving beyond digital transformation with digital necessity. This webcast is brought to you by CIO in partnership with Endava. I'm joined again by Helena Nimmo, CIO of Endava, Justin Marcucci, Endava's Chief Digital Officer, and Nadine Thomson, Chief Technology Officer at MediaCom. In the first episode, we looked at the CIO role in times of uncertainty, the need for change, and what's stopping organizations from delivering on their digital initiatives. In this episode, Accelerating the Next Phase of Digital, we'll drill down into how digital necessity can help. We'll examine what the concept entails, how it's changing IT strategy, investment, and resources, and ultimately how you can harness this concept to more quickly respond to market changes. Enjoy. Welcome back, everyone. Let's get started. Helena, in the context of what we spoke about last time around digital necessity, can you start by talking a little bit more about what that is and why it's a new important phase of digital transformation?
Sure. So digital necessity as a concept is about looking across your entire estate, understanding your information, understanding your processes, understanding where you have got a digital process and where you have got the manual process, and making everything work together in a much more kind of seamless manner. So where you previously had a handover from a digital process into a manual process and back into a digital process, that clearly doesn't work in a truly digital experience as we've seen through the pandemic. It is about making sure that that digital experience is complete end to end, and you remove any of that necessity to have a human in a call center or in a warehouse doing a certain task if that is not absolutely 100% required.
Nadine, why should the CIO or CTO care about digital necessity? How does it help them do their jobs better? How does it enable them to do different and better things for the organization?
I'd go as far to say it's sort of the modern technology leaders' responsibility to be looking at digital necessity and implementing that for the business and ensuring that they're really thinking about the bigger picture. There's no point, we spoke about silos in the first episode, and there's no point at looking at parts of our digital transformation in silos, whether that be sort of vertical silos or horizontal silos, which Helen has just been talking about. So making sure that our kind of processes and our operations and our user experience are all sort of lined up together to provide that real change for the organisation. And so I really do think that it's, well, apart from it being a responsibility, if you don't look at digital transformation on a whole, you're not really going to change your organisation in a time when you really do need to be looking at all aspects of your organisation and how it works if it's going to survive the next sort of 18 months.
Great. Helena, how do you see digital necessity impacting your IT organization in terms of the strategy, in terms of the initiatives that you have underway? What's the impact there?
Now that is a really good question, and I don't think I'm unique in this area. It's a challenge that all IT leaders are sharing. So it is truly looking at what your roadmap is. Traditionally, we've had a lot of really big initiatives on our roadmaps. Big digital transformation programs. I think it's questioning and challenging all of those. Does it bring value to your user, to your customer, to your organization? Really breaking them down into smaller deliverables. I think that is going to be key, especially as the teamwork is more virtual. It is much easier to do smaller, more succinct pieces of work when you're working virtually, especially when you've got the squeezed timelines. So it is literally looking at your entire priorities, what it is you're looking to do, and we are also obviously under cost pressure as well. So every IT organization has always got the challenge: how do you reduce the cost? And I think right now this is a really good time to be asking that question. And I think, again, if you're dealing with much smaller initiatives, you've got a smaller commitment, which means that it is easier to prioritize, and it is easier to decide to stop and start. And I think these are the decisions that all IT leaders are having to make. But definitely making them smaller, and being able to challenge the previous priorities that we had.
Justin, what's your perspective there, not just across IT, but the broader business as well?
I think digital necessity overall, frankly, if we look at how transformation has operated within a lot of different industries previously, digital necessity is understanding that you can't really do the stuff that's going to drive your business forward from a growth perspective or from an evolution perspective, launching new products and that sort of thing, until you have cared for the foundational components of your business that allow it to run, and that allow it to focus. And digital necessity is ensuring that you've put the necessary care and attention, and you have the strong enough pilings in the earth for your business that you're going to allow to then be built upon with those new digital products. And I think it's about looking at that overall holistic goal of evolving a business, and it can't just be like a lot of digital transformation exercises historically have been really flashy front end experience-y things, but don't have necessarily the right depth into the organization to drive real change or sustainable change. And I think that's what digital necessity is about. It's focusing on something that's going to be more sustainable and is going to drive the right kind of foundation for that growth moving forward.
Yeah, it seems pretty critical, especially in the current environment, to show the faster value from IT projects. That these smaller projects, potentially less expense and resource required, can really enable organizations to survive and thrive and innovate, even under some extreme conditions. Nadine, is that your perspective? Is that your approach as well?
It is. It's the approach I've taken at MediaCom pre-pandemic, actually. It fits into the way the organisation works quite well. So it's easy. Well, it's easier to, I think, put a project or a deliverable for technology in front of the business in an MVP state and get feedback and then evolve it, than to try and deliver something sort of much larger end to end. And we're doing that at the moment for an audience strategy product we're creating for one of our big food retailers. And that's been really successful in getting engagement and getting just that quick feedback loop, so we can actually modify it and change it to make sure it really fits what the sort of the client needs. I would say there's one watch out with the breaking into smaller projects, which I've found through my experience. And that is the managing the business expectations of, you've been able to deliver this lovely MVP quite quickly and for a low cost. And I think making sure that it's understood and that you've got the budgets and the resources to scale that to a proper enterprise product that thousands of users can use without, so it's stable and it's secure. And it still delivers that feature roadmap. And sometimes I find, actually, in working in this way of delivering small pilots or MVPs, you really have to be quite conscious of that. Otherwise, the expectation from the business that they can scale that MVP and off and running before you've got them can be quite sort of something to watch out for.
Great. Everybody loves picking winners and losers. Justin, from an IT investment perspective, what does the current environment mean? What does the shift to digital necessity mean in terms of technology adoption? Are we seeing a rapid shift to cloud, more automation, more SaaS? What's your perspective?
Certainly, there's a massive shift to the cloud. That has continues to pick up speed, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. There has been far more automation activities happening. I think that, frankly, where we're going to see the biggest shift is this notion of RPA, which is, frankly, can be a bit brittle at times, because it's really about taking something that's always going to work the same way and automating it. I think that the RPA, kind of traditional RPA players, really have to start to evolve into intelligent automation. And something that ends up having the ability to flex much more readily into a number of different areas based upon different activities, stimulus, whatever it may be, because that's the only automation that we've seen successful to date, that can be scaled and can frankly stand up against what are certainly a variety of different industry activities and market activities and change that's happening. Otherwise, it ends up being a continual investment to update your RPA components in a way that I think just doesn't give you the bang for your buck that you need.
Got it. Despite this shift and kind of more rapid adoption that we're seeing of some of these emerging technologies, there's obviously the continual challenges that CIOs and IT teams face around legacy technologies, around technical debt, newer challenges around integrating the various cloud services that you're deploying. Helena, how does digital necessity help CIOs address some of those challenges?
I think what we have seen with the pandemic, it has definitely exposed a lot of the challenges here that you have with the legacy or heritage estate, depending on the age of what you have. Previously, it has been quite easy to just hide some of that heritage and legacy out of sight. It's sitting in an on-prem data center, or it has been adjusted so that it can sit maybe in a private, more of a private cloud or even a public cloud. I think what we're starting to see now is that the gaps are appearing and the cracks are getting bigger in the process. And I think that's the principle of digital necessity. It is the do you truly need somebody behind the scenes operating some of that legacy and heritage IT, which is symptomatic in many cases. A lot of the really classic cases of legacy IT is when your database started overfilling, you had to go and do a purge. But if you cannot have the people on the ground, you cannot do that. And that means that then all of the really nice glossy processes that you have built on top of that legacy setup start exposing the cracks, and your user experience isn't seamless. So it is literally about making sure you look after your entire estate. And Nadine has said it, it's the horizontal and the vertical. And I think that's the aspect and the view CIOs need to take. It is having taking that brave step and challenging and really exposing and bringing that technical debt to forefront, saying, this is what it has done to our business. Now, how are we going to fix this?
Great. We've touched on this a little bit in this discussion, but I'd love to hear more from each of you around some of the specific tools or platforms that you need to bring to bear to enable or facilitate or accelerate digital necessity. Justin, you want to start?
Sure. I mean, I think it's interesting because you can take that question in a lot of different directions. One of the things that we're seeing an enormous amount of demand for, and certainly it's close to our hearts as we look to help transform these organizations, utilizing this digital necessity mentality, is actually looking at far more penetration of kind of a DevOps-oriented mindset when it comes into how you're going to be delivering technology. Because it's not about the tooling that you put in place. It's about the philosophy and the philosophical implications an organization has to take on board to let that sort of thing happen. Because it represents a pretty big shift for an organization that has traditionally looked at IT with a legacy approach, looking at it in a substantially more agile approach. And to truly harness the benefit of DevOps or even larger orchestrations, you have to have put in place the appropriate tooling that allows the test automation to seamlessly run and feed into that path to production. And so if somebody is looking for a way to help kickstart their transformation as an organization, and they're open to this notion of implementing a more DevOps-oriented mindset, that's what we see from an approach standpoint as the quickest way to do so, because it has such massive implications on other areas of the way that they deliver technology.
And Nadine, what are your thoughts in terms of kind of how your organization, your team is evolving in terms of tools, platforms, or as Justin noted, philosophies?
I think one to pick up on a sort of philosophy and a tool as well is the low code sort of movement, and that is really democratizing technology more into the hands, not necessarily into keeping it in the IT team as such, and I suppose under the command and control manner of sort of past institutions of technology, but really enabling people throughout the organization to create their own solutions. And that does bring new challenges as well, as we need to think about kind of consistency and framework and security around being all of our business units be able to create their own applications. But it also is a real shift in mindset, like the DevOps is a shift in mindset about kind of allowing, enabling our business to take, I suppose, to take that power of being able to change their own workflow, their own the way they do their role. So I'd say that no code is a really interesting sort of shift we're seeing in the platform perspective.
Great. And Helena, your thoughts and perspective about from your team standpoint in terms of the tools or platforms that you're bringing to bear to facilitate digital necessity.
Well, to follow on what both Justin and Nadine said, one of it is about the behaviors and the attitude. I think this is a really good point to recognize the power of agile, especially in the kind of time-boxed sense, to create products and solutions. Similarly, DevOps, because that is all about breaking down the silos and working more together. So I think those are really, really key points. And then picking up on Nadine's point about enabling and empowering individuals, I think that is something that all technology leaders should be looking to do, which is shifting the work and empowering the technology skills of the organization, not looking to keep it within the technology department. And I think those are really, really key. And the final piece of the puzzle really is the cloud aspect. Having cloud it makes everything so much more accessible. There are so many tools, there are so many connection points there that you can utilize and make. And as Nadine says, it does bring a different challenge, because suddenly IT is not about technology. It is more about that trusting individuals and providing that safe framework for people to operate in. And dare I say the word governance, because obviously we always also have to look at the costs. But it is the focus on trusting on individuals and empowering them and enabling them to do the right thing safely.
All right, that's great. Let's put a bow on this with some final words, some practical guidance that CIOs can take with them, particularly around fixing digital breakage, around accelerating innovation, around enabling digital necessity. Nadine, please start if you would.
Well, I think as technology leaders, you obviously need to concentrate on the technology, but many of you have got that in the bag. For me, it's a lot about hearts and minds. I spend a lot of my time not doing a lot with technology. Obviously, I have my technology expertise, but doing a lot of change management and business understanding, identifying opportunities, identifying challenges, and then talking with different areas of the business on how we can use technology or how we can use digital transformation to solve those challenges. So that would be my initial tip. And I might just, if we've got time, Rob, I might just give two more.
Please.
So another one I would add would be ensuring you've got strong executive support. And we spoke about this in the first episode. So it's very difficult to address digital necessity, to address digital breakages, to innovate unless you've got real digital executive support. And that executive support, I think, comes from technology leaders really showing their business understanding and bringing that to the boardroom. And the other thing I would say that would really help technology leaders with innovation and addressing challenges in their digital transformation is thinking about diversity in their hiring. So I have found bringing in people from diverse backgrounds, as long as you've created the environment where they can be it's an inclusive environment. You foster that environment where people can share opinions and listen to each other, then I think they can really challenge the "we've always done it this way" mentality, which I think is a really hard thing to sometimes shift, and it sort of links a bit back to my hearts and minds. But I found that brings some really fresh perspectives in, and if you can create that environment where that can really be heard, I think that can really help technology leaders.
That's great. Thanks, Nadine. Justin, your final thoughts, please.
Sure. I mean, I think what's really interesting about the time we're in right now is that I think for one of the first times, at least in my professional career, you have this alignment based on the fact of, this awful global scenario that we're in, but there's an alignment. There's an alignment between the market requiring change, businesses knowing they have to change, customers expecting change and being slightly more adaptable to how things are working. As organizations that use and wield technology for a living, it's our responsibility now to take advantage of that alignment and really press forward at a substantially faster pace. Because I don't know if we'll ever have this kind of alignment again. And the opportunity to take advantage of that is ripe, and it's in front of us, and we need to do so. I think what's important to recognize is how we take advantage of that opportunity to innovate and that opportunity to speed up our own evolution and the evolution of our industry. And I think at the root of it is experimentation is not the province of R&D. It shouldn't be the case. We're in a position right now where to have useful experimentation from a technology standpoint, from a business model standpoint, we have to be doing it in teams of people and in a very commercial mindset. And we have to be letting the other side of the table, right, our customers, our consumers, whoever that is, participate in that process. And so we have to ensure that we've even dropped that additional layer of that safety blanket. If we're just going to do it ourselves, and if it stinks, then we'll kind of tuck that one away and never talk about it. We have to be experimenting with our customers in a way that's safe and doesn't create all kinds of security issues. I know Helena would appreciate that, and so would Nadine. But at the same time, we have to bring them into that journey, and we have to be able to experiment collectively. And only when a business can achieve that, they can get comfortable with that level of uncertainty and that level of adaptability, and they can build an organization around that, are they going to effectively learn at the pace they need to learn in, and then put in place in market product that's going to drive the right kind of business success. And it's only when we achieve that in this environment of unprecedented alignment can an organization truly move itself into a position of authority within an industry.
Excellent points. Thanks, Justin. Helena, you get the last word.
So I guess following on with both Nadine and Justin is saying there, technology is a very emotive topic. People have got very strong views. What is right? What is wrong? Is it a methodology, or is it a technology platform, or is it a development language? Whatever it is it does tend to raise quite strong emotions. I think right now, what Justin was saying there is an opportunity of alignment, which is there actually isn't a right and wrong. There's different shades and there's different flavors, but what is really important is that we're trying things. We're trying things with data, we're trying things with people, we're trying things with processes, and we're trying things with technology. And I think that is going to be a really powerful mix on how we move things forward. I also think it means a lot to IT organizations, IT departments, to step out of their comfort zones. So it's not just, we're usually doing the asking, we're usually asking people to step out and accept the change. I think this is also where we need to be challenged for us to step out of that comfort zone and start truly understanding our colleagues and the business pain points in a kind of wider context. Because if we don't truly understand and being able to put ourselves into our colleagues' shoes, how are we able to solve problems using that powerful mix of people, process, and technology? And I think that's part of the advice and the challenge where we need to hold our mirrors up to ourselves.
That's a great final message for this webcast. So let's wrap it up there. Helena, Justin, Nadine, thanks so much for your time and your insights. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's a wrap for this episode of the C-Suite Challenge. Thanks to Helena Nimmo, Justin Marcucci, and Nadine Thomson for their insights on this webcast and the first. And thanks to you for tuning in. For more information, you can head to endava.com or cio.com, or check out more of Endava's digital necessity content on their Bright Talk channel. For CIO, I'm Rob O'Regan. Thanks again for watching.